So I got a bunch of crazy ideas, and I want to start sharing them because they just rattle around in my head all the time. And I think they're pretty decent. Like, they're fucking radical, but I think they're good ideas. So one of them, everyone's like, oh, we need world peace, stop war, whatever. People have these beliefs. And, you get a lot of the other spectrum, which is super aggro and like, fuck all these people, right? So it's naive to think we can stop that. That's just human nature. I get it. But we can agree to like not use nuclear weapons, not use chemical weapons, not use biological weapons. Like generally, we're like making some reasonable rules. I think a certain type of ammunition is illegal. Not all these rules are always followed, but like we try. Okay. So I got an idea. It's inspired by what's happening right now in China and India. They have a border dispute or some shit, and they're constantly fighting each other, but they've agreed not to use any like explosives or firearms. So everyone's just beating the shit out of each other with like sticks and stuff, and it like keeps things reasonable. Like doesn't turn into a hot war. It's just like skirmishes. And it's got me thinking, and like watching this Ukraine thing, watching this Israel thing, and I'm just like, man, this is so fucking inconvenient for everybody else. Like, granted, I get it, geopolitical bullshit, resource acquisition, all this stuff. Sure, you guys can do that. But keep the rest of us out of it. Don't blow up cities, don't carpet bomb places, don't blow up, like, ancient ruins. Just, like, what we should be doing is going out into a field, televising the fuck out of this, and just going hand-to-hand combat with, like, swords and maces and armor and shields and like formations, and like anybody in the government that voted to go to war is there on the front line. So like you got these like 84-year-old senators getting the shit kicked out of them, and you got one generation of that, and then immediately you get a younger generation, and then you get a lot more tame government who's not trying to go to war with everybody, because war is terrifying at this point and difficult. And like you got to convince people to go hand-to-hand combat, which is really hard to do. And it's like a fair fight. Like people blowing up people on the other side of the world with robots or artillery or whatever. It's kind of cheap, shitty, it's dishonorable. And it's done A, for one, profit, but two, for fear. Like we're afraid of dying, so we don't give the other team a chance. And we get not always the people that are right winning. We're getting the sneakiest, the shadiest. And like if you are defending your homeland and you're fighting like with that purpose, like you have a chance. But like against modern technology, it's irrelevant. Anyway, it's a crazy idea. I ran it via AI. AI liked it. But this solves like the military industrial complex. This solves like global wars. This solves the nuclear wars. This solves a lot of things. I'm like, yeah, just fight it out. We'll televise this shit. If you cheat, the UN will shoot you or something. Some shit like this. I don't know. It's fucking doable. Like we do this with sports, and I'm like, it's still lethal. And like, one of the things like people don't know about history is like a lot of medieval warfare, like people didn't die from the battle. They died from the wounds, the infections, because modern medicine didn't exist. And so I'm like, all right, like with modern technology, modern armor, modern medicine, like battles be very like not very lethal. You might get injured, but generally I think you'd be fine. Like armor is pretty difficult to get through. You just be exhausted laying there in the field, incapacitated. You're like, I'm done. The shit kicked out of you. But you're like, fine. You're just like done for the day. Settle shit like that. It's a strange idea, but I keep getting it through my head because this is like a radical idea that people don't do. The other radical idea, not radical at all, it's historical, is like when you make a deal with people, like ceasefires and stuff, you gotta do hostage exchanges. That's what everyone did for thousands of years. And now you stop doing it and nobody honors agreements anymore. Yeah, come on, guys. Rookie stuff.